Welcome to the Millcreek Government Channel. I'm Judy Zelina, and today we're going to be talking to a representative from the Highmark Caring Place. Now, the Highmark Caring Place champions the cause of grieving children with different programs that are set up for the children and for their families. We've been very fortunate here in Erie to actually have a Highmark Caring Place right here in Erie, and they've been with us for 13 years. Here today to talk about some of the programs that they have available for us is Nina Ferraro, and Nina is the manager of the Erie site. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to meet you as well.
You know, we were talking a little bit earlier about most people feel children are so resilient. Mm-hmm. You know, they bounce back. They're out there playing with their toys. Yeah, they felt sadness. But there's more to it than that, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Well, at the Highmark Caring Place, we are a grieving center for children and families.
Okay.
So we do see and hear children tell us stories about their grief. What we see is adults will tell us that they were hit by a brick wall when somebody dies. When a child dies, we like to say that they're hit by that same brick wall, but it's one brick at a time because they grieve intermittently. And they usually grieve quietly in their rooms by themselves, not in front of their caretaker, their loved one, or their guardian.
And why do you think they do that, Nina?
They do that because they don't want, what we hear is that they don't want to upset the person that's caring for them. They see that person hurting already and grieving themselves.
Okay.
So they don't want to add to that person's burden.
All right.
By saying they're upset, or even sometimes even mentioning the person who died around their loved one, because just mentioning a person sometimes could elicit feelings in their guardian, their parent, and you know, they see them cry, and they don't want to do that. So often we hear that they're doing that alone.
So they're pretty much walking on eggshells.
They could be. Mm-hmm. They could be.
A lot of the times.
Right, right. Or they're so sensitive to that adult's grief that they don't want to add to that. So they think it's better for them to do it alone. And what we find is that it's not better for them, because unresolved grief can cause issues for children later in life and as they get older. So having the grieving center as we do, it's an opportunity for them to talk with kids their own age, alone, away from their parents, away from their adults that bring them, and share their feelings, share their thoughts and memories of the person who died, and to be able to actually freely talk about that person.
The Highmark Caring Place, most people probably aren't even aware that you're around until they need you.
Right.
Now, how does someone find out about you? Does someone usually refer a family to you, or you know, just someone recommends you? How does that happen?
There are different ways. We do have our brochures around in the doctor's offices, in the funeral homes, but here in Erie, the best way to tell people about something is word of mouth. So we have, and that's really what a lot of people say. They'll say, oh, the funeral director told me, but so did my friend, and so did the teacher.
Right.
And it's really word of mouth, I think, that does a lot of our letting people know that we're there for them.
Okay, what would be some of the programs that you have set up for children?
We are a peer support group. At our facility, we provide peer support groups. I am a licensed therapist, as well as all the staff there.
All right.
But the programming we do is not counseling. We don't do group therapy. Peer support is different. It's kids meeting with children their own age, teens meeting with teens, and even our adults meeting in adult rooms, and talking about what it's like for them. What it's like for them to experience the death of a sibling. What it's like for them on Mother's Day if they've experienced the death of their mother. And kind of relate to somebody else, and knowing that somebody else is going through something similar to what they're going through. Because children and teens often will say that they feel alone, that nobody understands them. Some of that is developmental. that, you know, nobody gets me, nobody understands me. But when there's that grief overlay, it really is really more impactful, that nobody really can feel the way I feel. And when they sit there with same age peers who've gone through something similar,
Okay.
it's that sense of universality, that sense of somebody else here understands me in some way. And it's very, very powerful.
I would imagine it would be, because any of us, when we are encompassed with grief or sadness, we feel we are alone. That nobody understands what I'm going through. And I can imagine with children, because they don't know how to communicate the emotions, correct, Nina?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes they don't even know what they're feeling. And depending on their age, a lot of what we do is help them to identify those feelings, because they know it's bad. They don't know if it's angry. Sometimes kids feel guilty. They have many different emotions, and we help them sort that out for themselves.
I've been down to your facility. Beautiful, beautiful facility.
Thank you.
When you first walk in, there's a beautiful butterfly on the wall. What does that signify?
That butterfly, we call it Hope the Butterfly,
Okay.
because although we're a grieving center and we're there for people who have experienced the death of a loved one, what it's about is offering hope to the children, to the families that come there, and let them know that it won't always hurt so bad, the hope that it won't always hurt so bad for them. And so we named our butterfly Hope.
Now, when somebody does come through your doors, there are different programs. Now, do you assess what you feel would be most beneficial, or do they pick?
Actually, we do, it's kind of like an assessment. We have someone call in, or we meet with them face to face and talk with them a little bit about their grief story,
right.
what it is that brought them to our facility, and what their needs are for their children. And then we do an assessment to see if our program is best for them at this time. If they do have some trauma, ongoing trauma, or if they have additional behavioral issues or emotional issues that we think need to be really dealt with through counseling, we also make referrals out to other facilities, other agencies, to get them some additional support.
Oh, okay. So it's not all just you if you recognize something else. Okay.
Right. And what's nice about our program is free to the community. There's no fee. We don't ask what your insurance is.
Really?
We ask what the needs are for that child, and we are able to hopefully meet those needs, or at least assess and say, this is what we think would be best for your family and your child at this moment. And if they are going to counseling, because there's no fee, they can come if we feel that this is the appropriate thing for them to do at this time. They can also be at our support group, involved in our support group while they're doing individual or family counseling.
Do you partner with any of the schools? Do you work with them?
We do. We have, we call it a caring team. And we have 125 schools in the area, and that's Erie, but it's surrounding areas as well, that we go into the schools. And a lot of what we're doing now is we are talking with people, and we're doing presentations with classrooms and letting them know how to support a grieving friend. Because, you know, kids, even adults, when somebody in their life has died, they don't know what to say to a friend who's experiencing that.
They don't. You are so right.
So we're just kind of helping kids to take away a little bit that taboo, because it really does reinforce the feeling that that person is alone when people don't want to mention the person who died, or they want to let them sit quietly, or so.
And that's exactly what happens.
It is. And so going into the schools and meeting with the kids, we let them know that it's okay to support a friend who is experiencing the death of a loved one.
And I think it's important. I can remember I was doing a show with somebody about grief, and I said, I'm guilty of that. I, as an adult, I figure, well, I don't want to mention it because I don't want them to start hurting.
Right.
You know, this particular person had lost a child.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, well, okay, don't say anything because it's just going to bring back the memories.
Yeah.
You know what? Even just to say, I'm thinking of you.
Yeah.
That's all you need. You don't have to go into detail.
Yeah.
And I never knew that. So it's something that's really important for people to realize
Absolutely.
what the person who's grieving is going through.
Absolutely. And just knowing that there's someone there to listen if you need to
Okay.
talk is really important. And getting that through to the kids at younger ages,
Right.
Hopefully as they get older, they will realize that it's not as taboo as we seem to think it is, that you can show support to somebody who's hurting and grieving.
Do teachers then sometimes suggest to the parents to give you guys a call if somebody's lost a parent or a grandparent or sibling, a child?
The schools are a good referral source for us if they do see that there is a child who's experiencing grief, and maybe in the classroom, because it's a little safer for them at times, they'll show some behavioral issues or they're withdrawing from school. A lot of times you'll hear kids say that, you know, they can't think about math because their parent died. So going in and having to take a math test isn't as important to them at that moment. Mm-hmm. So they may see some issues in the school that the teacher then can, you know, acknowledge and see, and then go back to their guardian or parent and say, you know, maybe the caring place is the place that they need to be at this point.
Well, I know families that have gone through the caring place. You just do a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Really have to tell you.
I'm glad that we're there to support them.
And like I said, I was down there visiting the facility one time, and there's some interesting rooms and activities going on. The one room I went into, there was actually a punching bag.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I like to say it's for our staff meetings, but I'm kidding. It's our expression room, and that actually, it has padded walls, and it does have a punching bag in there. And it's a place for kids to go when they're experiencing emotions. A lot of times they want to go in there and they want to punch the punching bag, or we have a bat and they can swing the bat and hit it. Other times they can go and just sit quietly. It's a time to be by themselves.
Okay.
And I've seen kids go and just sit quietly in a corner and cry. Or you can hear their feelings as they're hitting the bag. You can hear that hurt, that anger. As they're really kind of trying to utilize our expression room for what it's for.
And they do have to get past that.
They have to acknowledge it and be there in the moment with it. Because if you are angry and you're not acknowledging that, you're just harboring that, and it's gonna result in something else for you or exacerbate in the future.
And I know you've got different crafts, arts and crafts, different projects.
Yes. We have, as I said before, the staff, we are all therapists, but the people who do a lot of our one-on-one work with the kids, they're all volunteers. And our volunteers do a lot of activities. And some of the activities are like creating a memory box. And they give them the memory box, they decorate it. Sometimes they'll put the name of the person on it. And then we bring mementos, share those. It's like a show and share, where they maybe will bring a picture or a ring or something of the loved one, and they talk about that, and they're able to then put that in their memory box. And any letters or anything that they want that's valuable to them that's related to that person, they can put in that box and have. They also do masks, and maybe the one side of the mask, they will, a lot of our teens will do this, they will draw a picture of what they show the rest of the world, and then on the inside of the mask they will draw what they're really feeling. And oftentimes it's very different, the pictures from the outside to the inside.
I can imagine. Is there a set time that people come to the Highmark Caring Place that you feel, you know, like, oh, well, this will be a 6-week program? Is there any set time, or is it on an individual assessment?
Anytime someone is experiencing grief and think that their child would need additional support, they can call us. But we do have programs that run seasonally. We do have groups that start in the fall. Usually an introductory group will start in September. We have one usually in November, and then another February or March, and then in April. We do have ongoing groups that say they were to go to an introductory group in September.
Okay.
That's a 10-week group. And then after that, if they still feel that they need additional support, they can come back as many times as they need. And again, it is free of cost. There's no fee at all. They can come for as many times throughout the years. And we've had families there several years. But they can come to our ongoing groups that are then once in the fall and once in the spring, and they are 8 sessions long.
Years ago, and I don't know if you still have this, there was like a kit for someone who, it was like a memory box that they would make memories for their loved ones if they knew that they were terminal.
Yes.
Do you still have that?
We-
Do that? You used to do that.
We do that, but we do it more one-on-one, where
Okay.
we would ask that person either to give us a call or to come in, because a lot of times people don't know what to say to children when they know they're terminally ill, and they want to take that opportunity to really do what they need to do to help support that child before they die. And we meet with them, we'll talk with them we'll give them that box and say, here's some things that you could put in the box. Here's a journal that you could share with that child. Here's maybe a recording that you could make that you could tell, whether it's, to a younger child reading a bedtime story or sharing their dreams for them in the future or something like that, that we'll meet with them and give them that opportunity and then give them the box.
I thought that was very nice. I can remember you guys talking about that years ago, and I didn't know if you still did that.
We do it more one-on-one.
Children, like we talked, people feel that years ago, oh, kids are resilient, something happened, deal with it, it happens, that's life. So they're harboring all these emotions and all these feelings. It's wonderful that you're there for them. How can an individual who is not a therapist, how can they help a grieving child?
I think the biggest thing they can do is listen and ask. Ask questions to them and let them talk about the person who died. Because often, like I said, people think that's taboo, and they may want to talk about their mom and, that all the memories they have of their mom, but they're feeling at times, we hear that they're feeling that they're not able to do that. So just kind of talking with them, letting them share memories, sometimes letting them cry, but just acknowledging their feelings and let them be there in that moment and talk about the person in their life who died.
You guys, like I said, do an absolute phenomenal job.
Thank you.
You have many therapists there. But you wouldn't be able to do the job that you do if it weren't for your volunteers, right?
Absolutely. Our volunteers are amazing, and they do a lot of the work. We help to set it up, of course, but they do the work with the kids. They sit and listen to their stories, and with the adults, listening to the adult stories, and they're truly amazing people. A lot of times people will say, I could never work at the caring place, or I could never volunteer at the caring place. And what I would want people to know is not every day is very sad. Some days there are very sad days, and it's hard to be there.
Right.
But most of the time it's about hope. And our volunteers carry hope. They hold hope for these children and for the adults that are there. And when the child is ready, then they can acknowledge it, see it, and hold it for themselves. But the role of the volunteer is to help support these kids, to bring hope to them that it won't always hurt so bad, and to let them talk, and they're very good listeners. And our volunteers, I will say, are amazing. We had a volunteer recognition dinner last week, and we recognized 3 10-year volunteers and 17 5-year volunteers. And overall, we have 19 people that have been with us for over 10 years.
Oh my goodness.
So it is a difficult thing to do, to volunteer, but we think, and our volunteers are telling us, that it's something that they find to be very rewarding. And we treat our volunteers wonderfully because they are truly amazing people. And I feel privileged to be able to work with them. They give their time,
Okay.
but they also give their heart. They're not going and just putting time in. They're going and emotionally committing to these children, and they're truly amazing.
Do you have activities that take you off-site that you do with any of the children?
A lot of our caring team activities when we're going to the schools are off-site. We're just starting now going into schools and doing some grief groups in schools.
Oh, okay.
And then going and doing the presentations with the schools. But for Children's Grief Awareness Day, we had been going into the mall to let people know about children's grief and that children do grieve differently. And we go out into the community for that. And that's actually in November. This year it's going to be November 20th, but it's the third Thursday of November every year.
And this is Grief Awareness Day?
Children's Grief Awareness.
Children's Grief Awareness Day?
Yes. And what's interesting about that is that actually started right here in Millcreek, in one of the Millcreek Caring Team schools.
Really?
Yes. And now it's national. It's even beyond. It's international because we had some people, I think they were from Japan and some in Europe, that were acknowledging Children's Grief Awareness Day and observing it. And it's really about letting kids know that they're not alone. And we ask everyone to wear blue that day, and our Hope the Butterfly is out, and just to let kids know that we support them.
And here in Erie, on that day, do you have something set up at the mall, did you say?
We have in the past where we were at the
Okay.
mall as we led up to Children's Grief Awareness
All
Day.
right.
But on Children's Grief Awareness Day, a lot of what happens is at our schools. And we'll go to the schools and they'll have assemblies or they'll do activities. I know the Girl Scouts last year did a hope patch that they earned, and they were going throughout the community doing activities for Children's Grief Awareness Day.
Really?
Yes, so it's really about getting the community involved and
Okay.
letting the community know that, we do have grieving children in our community, in our family, and they need support. And actually the numbers are pretty staggering. It's 1 in 5 children will experience the death of a loved one by the time that they are 18 years old. So the numbers show that we have significant numbers of grieving children in our community, and it's important for us to show that we do support them.
Now, what age group would be eligible to come and participate in your programs?
Our programs run from infant through 2021, depending. Because it's a peer support group,
All right.
we have to make sure that we have a peer group for them.
Okay.
And we've had 20-year-old older teens come into our groups. But usually I would say it would be from infant to about 18, 19 years old. But we can support 20, 21
Okay.
if necessary.
And it's not just losing a parent.
No.
No, it's anybody, right?
It's anybody,
one?
any loved one in their life, they can come and find support at the Highmark Caring Place.
Okay. Again, you guys do a great job.
Thank
Volunteers, phenomenal to have all of you volunteers on board. How can someone become a volunteer?
You just have to give us a call.
Call.
And we will bring you down and give you a tour. We have activities throughout the year, like we call it Bring a Buddy Night, where you can come and meet some of the other volunteers.
All right.
And then we talk a little bit about what the roles of volunteers are. Because you could come and if you weren't comfortable sitting with a child or an adult, you could even do, help support with food or be a greeter at the door. So we tell all the rules and roles that you can do for being a volunteer. And then there's training.
I was going to say, is there a training session?
Yes,
Okay.
we have training twice a year, and our next one is coming up in August. And it's a 26-hour training, and we talk with them about developmentally where children are when they're grieving, what we find supports grieving children, activities that they can do, and we help also for them to talk about their grief and to see if this is something that they would be able to do to help support somebody else grieving.
Nina, could you let our viewers know exactly where you're located and how they can get a hold of you?
Yes, we are at 510 Cranberry, and that is, you have to kind of go around to the side, so you go to the farthest building and then go to the left around to the back, and also you could give us a call at 871-6868.
Okay, and that's right off the bayfront.
It is right off the bayfront.
Okay.
There's 2 office buildings as you're going towards the marina.
And you also have a wonderful website. It is filled with valuable information
Yes.
that someone can, if they have any questions. What is that website again?
Highmarkcaringplace.com.
All right.
You can also go, we have the Children's Grief Awareness Day website as well, and Facebook that people could go to.
Facebook. Anything
Yes.
new is going to be on Facebook.
Right.
Check them out. Like them. They do a
Exactly.
great job.
Thank you so much.
I've been at their facility. I know families that have really, really, it's been so beneficial to them. You do. I can't tell you what a great job you do. I am so impressed. It would be difficult for me. I'd love to be a volunteer, but I don't know if I could.
We'll still hook you.
I know you would. I know. Judy, go get the pizza.
No. We'll still hook you.
Nina, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for joining us. It has been a pleasure, and I love to get the word out to our viewers about the Highmark Caring Place, because you do. You're a wonderful asset to the community. We're glad you're right here in town.
Thank you so much.
Viewers, if you have any questions, please feel free to give them a call. Check them out on their website, and remember to like them on Facebook. So viewers, thank you so much for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.